testified to let the world know that you are a repulsive liar and that those treatments were pathetically veiled sexual abuse.
How dare you? What kind of a person has the audacity to sexually assault a child in front of their mother?
Anger and angst, rage and regret.
I feel like the life has literally been sucked out of me.
Dozens of women now speaking out publicly about what many of them say they fear talking about: sexual abuse by an adult they trusted.
I have experienced flashback nightmares of the abuse.
This courtroom is just the latest example of women speaking up forcefully against men who've been abusive. This time, it's a 4-day sentencing hearing.
Larry Nassar used to be an absolute god. He was absurdly nice and did everything he could to make me feel comfortable the second I met him. But he turned out to be a monster.
And rotate again.
Larry Nassar, once the prestigious doctor for the USA Gymnastics team, as well as Michigan State University, confronted by his victims for the second day in court.
I remember laying there frozen stiff on the table, utterly mortified, confused and scared. I felt so powerless to control what was happening.
Almost all of his victims were young girls sent to Nassar's office for treatment.
Without my knowledge or consent, I had engaged in my first sexual experience by kindergarten.
Many are now adults, tearfully recounting those traumatizing moments.
You used my body for 6 years for your own sexual gratification.
Their stories, all too familiar. More than 150 women have accused Nassar of sexual abuse. Among them, some of the biggest names in USA Gymnastics. Members of the Fierce Five, including Gabby Douglas, Michaela Maroney, Allie Raceman, and most recently, Simone Biles. Earlier this week, the gold medalist wrote, "For too long, I've asked myself, was I too naive? Was it my fault? I now know the answer to those questions. No, it was not my fault." Teammate Allie Raceman, who says she too was abused by the former doctor, told ESPN's Outside the Lines the blame isn't just on Nassar.
It's not something that any of us are excited and happy to share about. It's not something we want to think about, but USA Gymnastics is ignoring us.
As for Michaela Maroney, celebrities like Chrissy Teigen and Kristen Bell have offered to pay any fine that the gymnast might incur if she spoke out publicly against USA Gymnastics, ultimately breaking a non-disclosure agreement. USA Gymnastics responded earlier this week saying they would not enforce any penalty if Maroney were to speak out about her experience.
How do you plead?
Guilty.
In November, 54-year-old Nassar pleaded guilty to 7 counts of first-degree criminal sexual assault on 10 girls, 3 of those charges involving victims under the age of 13.
For all those involved, and that I'm so horribly sorry that this was like a match that turned into a forest fire out of control. And I pray the rosary every day for forgiveness for I want them to heal.
Prosecutors are seeking a sentence of 125 years.
It's breathtaking. It is very upsetting to know that he has had access to so many women and so many girls in so many different venues. Very upsetting.
John Manley, who represents more than 100 of the accusers, says Nassar presented a different face to his patients.
What Nassar did is came in with a sunny personality. I'm a nice man, you can trust me, and they trusted him. And he used that trust to disguise sexual assault as medical treatment.
He was someone we completely trusted. He was our friend, our neighbor, Lindsay's friend, and her doctor. And he was also someone who ultimately abused her on a daily basis for many, many years, starting around the age of 10.
As part of Nassar's plea deal, the judge is allowing any of his accusers to confront him in court. More than 100 victims are expected to do just that.
I am no longer a child. And further, I have never been more disgusted or disappointed by any human being.
One mother spoke on behalf of her daughter, who took her own life.
And I said, Chelsea, I was right there in the room. And she goes, you couldn't see what was going on, Mom. And she said, he hurt me.
And then there was 17-year-old Stephanie Robinson. So young, she needed permission from her father to testify. Today, he was right by her side.
I am disgusted by your actions. May you never hurt or abuse another person again.
The father of 3 was arrested in 2016 after this woman, Rachel Denhollander, came forward.
It was just after my 15th birthday. I saw him for approximately a year, and he abused me between 10 and 13 times during that time frame. He penetrated me vaginally and anally.
She spoke to the media, and then the floodgates opened.
Within hours, we had women calling the tip line that was set up. By the end of the day, we had 12 other survivors who had come forward, and it's grown from there. We have over 160 now.
Den Hollander is scheduled to testify on Friday.
Can I address Larry personally?
Testifying isn't easy, says former gymnast Jeanette Antolin.
You deceived me, you manipulated me, and you abused me. That's how I was really going to start to be able to heal, to stare this man in the face and let him know that his power is taken away and that I got mine back.
Antolin says she first came in contact with Nassar back in 1997 when she was a member of the U.S. national team.
You used your hotel room as a personal playground to treat us. You used my innocent body as your sexual play toy. The little girls that he molested are gone.
Yet Antolin says the wrongdoing extends much further than Nassar.
I know for a fact that this abuse had been reported and just people turned a blind eye to it. The only way that I'm going to feel okay is if the entire board of USA Gymnastics is gone, because all of those people were in place when this stuff was happening and they knew and they did nothing about it.
Team USA has pledged to protect athletes, attending this week's hearing and releasing a statement that says in part, USA Gymnastics will keep their word and experiences at the core of everything we do as we remain focused on our highest priority, the safety, health, and well-being of our athletes and creating a culture that empowers and supports them. Several gymnasts and their families claim that USA Gymnastics was complicit in turning a blind eye to Nassar's abuse. The organization has not commented on those accusations. This morning, former coach Thomas Brennan accompanied Gwen Anderson as she spoke in court.
Our coaches are like our family, and they couldn't protect us from him.
Brennan then spoke directly to the man who he says was a mentor for years, running clinics together.
For the record, go to hell.
It wasn't just gymnasts speaking out against Nassar. He also treated athletes at Michigan State University for nearly 20 years. Today, many in the courtroom were stunned when the university president, Lou Anna Simon, offered her support in person.
The focus of attention should be on the people who are telling their story and not on me or Michigan State. I think there are steps being made towards accountability, and there are other steps that will follow.
Nassar has already been sentenced to 60 years on 3 federal child pornography charges. And now the Ingham County Court judge is expected to announce Nassar's additional sentence on Friday after all victims have been heard.
He will never be free. The next judge he faces will be God.
Perhaps you have figured it out by now. The little girls don't stay little forever. They grow into strong women that return to destroy your world.
We've never seen anything like this. To see this many women come forward and this many women able to put their names and their faces to it and to take back their voice and to put the guilt and the blame where it belongs.
For Nightline, I'm Lindsay Davis in New York.